Welcome to the WalterFootball.com podcast. This is episode 329. We're going to be talking about 2021 fantasy football rookies, and then at the very end, we're going to discuss the Game of Thrones prequel that HBO put out. Usually joined by Jacob Kamaker. He had a work conflict this week, but here is Kenny Ortiz at Fantasy Jabber, my old partner in crime. Kenny, how's it going? How's life been?
Bro, listen, I'm a man of the people. The people have been clamoring to have me back. Here I am serving the people. Bro, I'm living in Minnesota, loving life. It's been fantastic. That's right. Kenny's back. Yeah, man, I have been just excited. I'm a PhD student, so I don't really have social life. I read and read. And my wife is 8 months pregnant. So nice. Last night we were doing a birth class. Tonight she's doing a Zoom class, a class by Zoom on breastfeeding. So that's my life these days.
Okay. Well, maybe we can do an episode about all that, but okay, maybe probably not. So let's talk about the fantasy rookies. We actually talked about beforehand if we're gonna do like quarterback rankings, running back rankings, but we thought that because the draft just happened, we could discuss the rookies. And yeah, I mean, why not talk about the running backs because they're probably going to be the first two drafted. Maybe Jamar Chase, maybe Kyle Pitts, depending on who's in your league. But Nachi Harris drafted by the Steelers, and then one pick later, Travis Etienne to the Jaguars. So I had a lot of trouble ranking Naji Harris. I'm working through my rankings right now. Where would you have these two guys? Where would you draft them? How do you like them this year?
I actually am not convinced, by the way, that Etienne is the second best pick of the rookies. I think I got a three-way tie, but I'll get back to that. Where would I put these guys? It's really hard to rank them. I personally have more and more gone away from rookies. Remember, it felt like every year there was at least one great rookie running back. Like in the 2000s, every year at least one rookie. And it feels like over the last 10, 12 years, it's much more inconsistent. And I'm not sure the exact reason for that. So I'm not super convinced that I actually want to draft any of these guys. Really, to me, Naji Harris is probably worth drafting as a high-end running back 3, low-end RB2. Maybe that puts him, RB 24-ish. So right now I've got him, just behind Kareem Hunt, Melvin Gordon. I'd take him ahead of guys like Myles Gaskins, James Robinson, Mike Davis. I'd take him ahead of Chase Edmonds or Leonard Fournette. So but there's a lot of guys I'm taking ahead of him. I'm taking Chris Carson, Miles Sanders, Josh Jacobs. There's a lot of guys that are going to be drafted in that same realm. I think I would take ahead of him.
So I have Nachi Harris 17 in my rankings that I'm going to publish. Yeah, I mean it's like an RB2, like a mid RB2. I think you're right in saying that rookie running backs have kind of fallen off in recent years, and I think it's because there are just so many running backs out there. Look at Travis Etienne. Usually when a team drafts a running back in the first round, they have nothing at the position, right. But the Jaguars have James Robinson, so it's tough to kind of rank ATN. That's why I said I had issues placing him because Robinson was so good last year, and I kind of wonder why they spent a first round pick on him. I get he's so super talented, but spending a first round pick on a player who's not going to play more than half of the snaps. I just see a position that you can easily replace. Just seems like a mistake. But with Nachi Harris, they were all in with him. For weeks, they were talking about drafting him. They were hoping he was going to fall to them. They have nothing else a running back. James Conner's gone. There's still Benny Snell, but he stinks. So Nachi Harris is going to get all the work on all three downs. They're going to rely a lot on him. They want to establish the run. The only issue I have with Harris is the offensive line. It lost 3 starters from last year, so that's a concern. But he's going to get all the opportunities, and he's talented. While I was against the Steelers drafting a running back in the first round or any team, I still think he's pretty solid this year. So I trust him more than any of the other running backs.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big gap between him and the next crew. And so you've got him 17. I've got him at 24 for running backs. So we're not. I've got him at low end RB2. I think for me, he's a mid to late 4th round pick in a typical standard redraft. You maybe have him as a late 3rd, early 4th. Is that probably where you'd have him at?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's in that range. So, where do you have ATN, by the way?
All right, I'm pulling it up right here. And so I've got him. I've got a 3-way tie. I got a 3-way tie for my next running backs. Travis Etienne, I've got him at overall. I mean, I got him like as a 7th or 8th round pick. I don't think I'm touching him. For various reasons. I hit the wrong button. Apparently I'm not tech savvy, and I hit the wrong thing here. Sorry, give me a second here.
It's troubling that you're not tech savvy because you're the web host of this website.
Okay, so Jamante Williams, Travis Etienne, and dark horse Kenneth Gainwell for the Philadelphia Eagles. I've got them tied. I got a 3-way tie. I think all those guys are of equal value. Gainwell, though, is probably going to be he'll probably be undrafted in a lot of redraft leagues, right? I would imagine. I actually have a lot of confidence in his ability. If he had not opted out in 2020, he's probably a late 2nd, early 3rd round pick in the NFL draft, and he's going to a coaching staff that has a good track record of using running backs out of the backfield with his sort of skill set. So, I actually, with Etienne, I'm not a believer in Urban Meyer right now. I'm not sure what that team's going to be like. And they already have James Robinson there. And so I'm very nervous that even though he's a talented running back and was probably worthy of being drafted in the 1st round of the NFL draft, I'm not confident in him as a fantasy asset, at least not this year.
If it were for James Robinson, I'd be a lot more confident because he would get all the touches. Jacksonville's offensive line, I think, is a little bit better. And I know Parrott just commented that the Steelers drafted 2 tackles and a tight end after Harris, but you're counting on 2 rookies. And I just don't know how they're going to perform. Whereas Jacksonville's offensive line has some talent. It's not great or anything, but it's not bad either. So I think ETN would be in a better spot if it wasn't for Robinson. Plus, he has Trevor Lawrence to take the attention away from the defenses. And Lawrence has a great receiving core to throw to, like DJ Chark, Laviska Shenault. They added Marvin Jones. It's a lot of talent there. Plus, don't forget Tim Tebow, tight end. Right. So there's gonna be a lot of attention elsewhere, and that'll open things up for the running backs. The problem is that ATN has to split the touches, and that's why I was saying I just don't know. And it kind of reminds me of last year with Jonathan Taylor with the Colts, where they had Marlon Mack beforehand. And then Matt got hurt the first week of the season, so we didn't even have to worry about that. The people who drafted Taylor that kind of lucked out. What if Robinson doesn't get hurt? He's gonna take touches away from ATN, and so he's gonna be a big name because people watched him thrive for Clemson. Right. But I think he's gonna be overdrafted, and so like I said, I had him 30th. I think 29th.
I've got ATN right at my. I'm hitting wrong buttons today. I think he's got fat fingers. It's sympathy. It's sympathy fat because as my wife has gained weight in pregnancy, I am gaining weight as well as a means of demonstrating solidarity with her.
Very nice.
And so I've got him for running backs. I've got him right at 30 actually as well.
Okay. Yeah, so we're close. And you said you had Javonte Williams ranked higher, and I do too. I do as well. I just mentioned Harris and ATN to start because they were the 1st round picks. Javonte Williams drafted at the beginning of the 2nd round. The Broncos lost Philip Lindsay. They still have Melvin Gordon, but Gordon kind of disappointed a little bit last year. And Javonte Williams is a 2nd round pick. I think he's going to get a lot of touches, and I think he could beat out Gordon eventually. And so I have Williams 26th. Where do you have him?
I've got him overall. I'm looking at right now. I've got him right at 27 actually. So we're pretty close here.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So we were far away on Harris, but close to these guys. So you're higher on Gainwell than I am. I had Gainwell in the 2nd round of my mock drafts, way earlier, and then he kind of fell because, like you said, he hasn't played for a while. You're an Eagles fan, so I have to I want to hear your opinion about this, but the Eagles running back core is pretty crowded. I mean, Miles Sanders is going to get a ton of touches. Obviously, Boston Scott's pretty good. And then you have Gainwell, and they signed Kerryon Johnson. So like you're very high on Gainwell. Like I have like issues seeing him getting a ton of touches. I love his talent, but as a rookie, I just don't know if they're going to trust him right away.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, Kerryon Johnson had some great moments in Detroit, but he's been injured and inconsistent. I don't have confidence, and he's got no guaranteed money for this year. I mean, I'm not sure he's going to be on the roster. Jordan Howard, I don't think he's going to be on the roster. I mean, he was a total shell of himself in the last year. And Miles Sanders has also shown the inability to be consistent. A lot of Eagles fans complain that Doug Peterson last year didn't give him the ball enough. Well, I think it's because he was inconsistent. Like, it wasn't because they went away from the running game. I remember for years and years, Andy Reid would go away from the running game and fans would complain. Like, he didn't go away from the running game. He was going toward Boston Scott and toward Jordan Howard and toward Corey Clement. When you've got Miles Sanders on the roster, it's because Miles Sanders has been very inconsistent with his vision. Now, the guy can score a touchdown on any play. When he's got the ball in his hand, there are very few players in the NFL as explosive as Miles Sanders. So we love watching him play, but he's terribly inconsistent, and he still has pass protection issues, and he still has fumbling issues. And that's the reason why he wasn't on the field as much in the second half of the year. I don't think the coaches trusted him. And so Gainwell has he is a better version of Nyheim Hines. He's a better version of Austin Eckler. He's better than both of those guys today. And we see what the current Eagles coaching staff, this new staff, those guys had those guys. We saw how they use them. Gainwell, to me, is a perfect analog to what Eckler and Hines could do, and he's better than both of those guys. And so I am really, really high in him as a 1-2 punch. Maybe not early in the year, as a rookie. Obviously, it may take some, but I think in the second half of the year, he could be a really quality flex play for a lot of teams.
Yeah, I like him a lot more for PPR than standard. Standard, I don't trust him as much because like I said, there's so many running backs there, and I mean Sanders, like you said, he can go the distance anytime he touches the ball. Actually, just rewatched the Steelers-Eagles game where the Steelers covered, but that game was close because Sanders scored like an 84-yard touchdown out of nowhere. Like the Eagles weren't moving the ball at all, and then Sanders just exploded down the field. So yeah, I mean he's just so great, and so he's going to get the majority of the touches. But I think I like your comparison with Hines and also Eckler. Like they're going to use Gainwell a lot out of the backfield, assuming that he lives up to his ability. I think they brought in Kerryon Johnson just as like an insurance policy. Like if Gainwell is not the guy they think he is, then Kerryon Johnson is going to get the touches. But I think you're right in saying that Gainwell's talent is there. I just don't know about the opportunities early on. And it sounded like you kind of agree with that because you think that later in the year he's going to be better. So maybe someone to kind of like keep an eye on. Right. Like Parrot's asking, do you think Hurts cuts into the value because Jalen Hurts is going to run a lot? So each time he scrambles, it means that's one fewer touch for Gainwell, right?
Yeah. I just it's hard to know for sure how much it's going to affect. And so I don't worry about that. Whenever you draft a running back that's got a mobile quarterback that can score, that it potentially could cost you touchdowns. And so, yeah, I mean, what is Gainwell going to cost you, though? I mean, what is Gainwell going to cost? In a redraft leagues, you're probably undrafted, or maybe he's a last round pick. In dynasty leagues, maybe he's a mid round pick. Like I don't think it's going to be too expensive, so I'm not too concerned about it. If anything, I think it hurts Miles Sanders because Miles Sanders has not been effective in the red zone in 2 years in the NFL. And if you've got an option between Sanders and Hurts is going to be the option in most of those cases.
Yeah, it makes sense. Are there any other running backs you have an eye on? Because there's one guy, Trey Sermon, who went to the 49ers in the third round. Kyle Shanahan can turn any running back into a star. Like we've seen that. Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., like these guys haven't done anything without Kyle Shanahan. And now like Sermon is a good talent. I mean, they drafted him in the third round. I like his potential. Like, the running back group there in San Francisco is so crowded. But I think he's going to be like more talented than those guys. So I feel like he could eventually get an opportunity. And if he does, I think he could run away with the job. So that's one guy. And the other guy I was keeping an eye on is Ramondre Stevenson, who went to the Patriots. They're not a fan of Sony Michel. Damian Harris is just okay. If Stevenson stands out, like he could take that job, like theoretically. So what do you think about those guys, or is there anyone else you had an eye on?
Stevenson, not really on my radar. I don't know that I mean, yeah, I mean, it's sort of hard to know. And if I don't know a lot about the talent of the player and the New England running back rotation is like, who knows what a mess that seems like. I mean, once upon a time, Jonas Gray scored 4 touchdowns in a game and never played again. I think I blew all my fab trying to get that guy on my SWAT on my roster that year. Excuse me. I think I like looking at the San Francisco running backs. They actually drafted another guy, Elijah Mitchell. So I don't know which of this is going to be, but they seem to like both of these guys. I agree with you. Looking toward a Shanahan running back is of value. Man, it does feel like though after the first few running backs, the rookie class just falls off a cliff. The chasm between it's Harris at the top, and then there's a few guys, and then there's just this massive drop off. It feels like. So I don't know that I'm going to be really spending any energy on these guys.
Yeah, Chillage brought up sleeper potential Michael Carter on the Jets. I actually forgot about him. I have him like pretty high. I have him 34th overall, just because the Jets have nothing at running back, and wow. I think that he's pretty good. Like he could get the starting job, and if he does, like the Jets have an improved offensive line with Elijah Vera Tucker. Like he's going to get some opportunities. He's a guy I would like to draft in like round 9, round 10, round 11, something like that. Is like a guy with like a ton of upside, but obviously he has a low floor as well. Like he may not get any touches just because we haven't seen him play. But the Jets have nothing at running back, so I think he could take that job too.
I won't be drafting many Jets on many of my teams this year. I have zero confidence in that team right now. Although I mean, I'm interested in the new coach a little bit.
Yeah, I think that you kind of have to consider how players have played after they've left Adam Gase. Like look at Devontae Parker after Adam Gase. Look at Ryan Tannehill after Adam Gase. Like there's a bunch of guys who have played better without him. So I think you have to consider that all these guys could improve. Now they have a new receiving core. They added Corey Davis, and we're going to talk about a rookie receiver they have on the roster. So let's just get to the receivers. Before we do, please hit the like button, hit subscribe, comment below, share this video. That would mean a lot to us. So let's get to the rookie receivers. So obviously Jamar Chase. He was drafted number 5 overall. I assume he's going to be your top receiver. And then how would you rank the Alabama guys in relation to Harris? Like are they far apart, or where would you go with them?
Did you say you're going to assume that Jamar Chase is my number 1 rookie receiver?
Well, he's not. I mean, he's definitely mine. Like, where do you have the other guys?
I have one Heisman Trophy winner Devonte Smith as my number 1 rookie wide receiver for this year. And
I love Devonte Smith, so let's hear why.
This guy is so good, and I can't believe the Eagles got him. I'm pinching myself every time. I can't believe the Eagles got him. I can't believe they got him. I mean, listen, my confidence in Howie Roseman, the GM of my Philadelphia Eagles, my confidence in Howie Roseman is still very low. So let's not pretend like he has redeemed himself totally yet. However, this kid is unreal. I mean, I think he weighs as much as my right thigh, but this guy is so good. He's not just Deshaun Jackson fly pattern, skinny, fast guy. He's not just, the Kenny Stills kind of player. He is a precise route runner, and he doesn't drop the football. And so, and he did it against elite talent, and Jamar Chase did too. I am all in on Devonte Smith. He's the guy I wanted the Eagles to draft at number 6. They traded back to 12. I didn't think they were going to get him, and the fact that they were able to get him at 10 is just remarkable to me. Ahead of the stinking Giants. Oh, what just beautiful, just beautiful. And so I think he's good. I think they're going to feed that kid the ball. I have a lot of confidence, and we've seen a lot of really good rookie receivers still produce even with bad quarterbacks. And Jalen Hurts is going to be better than a lot of the slop that's been out there. Right? I mean, Anquan Bolden once upon a time produced a 1,000-yard season as a rookie. I think you were playing quarterback that season for them.
Let's not trade over Joey Harrington. Yeah.
Larry Fitzgerald had a 1,200-yard season with John Skelton, I think, at quarterback once upon a time. Great receivers can still put up significant yardage even with bad quarterbacks. And I have every bit of confidence that's going to be the case here.
Yeah, I mean, Devonte Smith's an amazing athlete for sure. Like, and I loved him a lot. As soon as he had that college football playoff performance in those 2 games, like I moved him up as my top receiver. So for the Eagles to get him at 12, or they traded down to 12 and then they moved up to 10 to get him. I thought that was incredible. My only concern with him is Jalen Hurts, and not because of Hurts' talent. Like, obviously, you said Fitzgerald produced John Skelton, Anquan Bolden. It was his quarterback that year. I think it was I don't even know. It was Josh McCown at the end, I think, but I don't know who else it was.
Early McCown, that's right.
Right. So I forget who it was, but anyway, like the fact remains that he just didn't have a lot of talent, like throwing to him, but he still produced. The problem with Hurts though is that he runs so much, and so every time he scrambles is just a potential target taken away from Devonta Smith. So that's my only worry there. And I think that when you have a heavy scrambler like Hurts, you just have to take away from the receivers a little bit. And the chemistry that Joe Burrow has with Jamar Chase, I think like you can't say enough about that. I feel like the years that they had in 2019, like it was just amazing. And Chase is just such a great talent, like Devonta Smith. Like there's gonna be no chemistry issues. They're gonna be clicking from day one. I have a slight concern about Burrow. Like, is he gonna be 100%? But we've heard good news. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. But I think he should be able to be on the field and produce Jamar Chase. So I have Jamar Chase as my number 1 receiver, but then I have Devonta Smith number 2. So we're not too far apart there. I think you're on mute.
I'm got muted. Sorry, I was coughing. I had to hit the mute button there. I've got Chase as my number 2, so it's not like and it's I think it's a 1A almost. It feels like you're 100% right. Chase is talented. My only concern, I guess, with 2 major ones. One is that Bengals offensive line is absolutely terrible, and combined with you got Joe Burrow coming off an injury, so there's a question mark. And Jamar Chase hasn't played major football in 2 years. We took the entire year off. I have confidence he's going to be able to recover from that, but it would not surprise me if there's a little bit of a slow start out of the gate. With Burrow recovery, I think there could be a potential, kind of slow out of the gate type of deal, where I think Smith is going to hit the ground running. And so I am a little more confident in the early part. If you're going to ask me which one I think is going to have a better career, I think Jamar Chase is the answer. I think he's going to have a long term. I think they're both going to be fantastic, amazing guys. I just assumed that Jamar Chase was a guy that was going to go. I thought he could go as early as 3 or 4. I thought there was, and when the Eagles traded out at 6, a lot of people were complaining. I thought, I don't think Chase is going to be there. So I actually think Chase is better, but I think for a rookie year, I give Smith a slight edge.
Yeah, the Bengals had a tough decision between Penei Sewell and Jamar Chase. Like, it really came down to the wire. And a few days before the draft, not a few days, maybe like a week and a half before the draft, I think Sewell sounded like the favorite for them. And then they changed their mind to Chase. And part of the reason was they liked the offensive linemen a lot more in the second round than they did the receivers. So yeah, I mean, Chase ended up going 5, so he wasn't going to fall to 6. And then the Dolphins at 6 drafted Jalen Waddle. So we haven't talked about him yet. Like, do you like Waddle at all?
I do like Waddle. I'm surprised he went ahead of Smith. I'm surprised he went 6. I'm surprised the Dolphins gave up so much to get Waddle. Because he's very good. He might be the next Tyreek Hill, right? That's the comp. People are saying he's a bigger version of Tyreek Hill, apparently, is what people have saying. I didn't watch a lot of Alabama football last year, but I watched enough. I'm not sure I put him in that category. I'm not sure that's what I saw. But he's really good, and I'm not sure I'm confident in the Dolphins' offensive system right now. And so I think what Waddle does well translates to the NFL slightly slower than what Chase and Smith do. Chase and Smith are perfect route runners. That translates to the NFL day one. Waddle is a good route runner, not a perfect route runner, and that translates a little slower to the NFL. Guys like Waddle take a few extra games to transition, and so he may still be great, but my confidence in him being great right out of the chute is a little less than Chase and Smith.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also, you have to consider the Dolphins receiving core. Like, they have so many players there. Devontae Parker, they signed Will Fuller, they Mike Gesicki. So Tua Tagovailoa has a ton of players to throw to. And plus, out of I just don't know if I trust him. I think he's going to be a lot better this year because he wasn't too far removed from that nasty injury he had. In his final game at Alabama. So I think he's going to be better, but we haven't seen him play that well yet. So I have slight concerns about that. Waddle would be number 3, and I agree with you. I think the Dolphins should have drafted Devonte Smith, but I still think Waddle's going to be a great player. And by the way, the quarterback for Bolden was Jeff Blake. It was Jeff Blake started that year, but Josh McCown finished it, so I was close. Like, McCown played that year, but Blake was the quarterback who played 13 games for them. So
Jeff Blake actually had a decent career, decent 3 years in the NFL, right?
Yeah, he played well at times. He had a good year with the Saints. I think it was in 2000 or 2001.
The Bengals, right?
Yeah. So he had some good years. We had some other receivers drafted a bit later after that in the first round. Kadarius Toney went to the Giants, and then the Ravens drafted Rashad Bateman. And early in the second round, the Jets drafted Elijah Moore. So, what do you think about these three? Like, do any of them like really entice you to draft them like kind of earlier than people would?
There's actually one receiver that was drafted after all those guys that I like more. Generally speaking, there have been a few years with exceptions. I think the 2014 draft where Odell Beckham, Sammy Watkins, and there was a third guy in that draft. There are occasional years where you've got more than one or two rookie receivers that hit. But if you look back over the last 25 years plus, there's only like 3 or 4 drafts that produced multiple fantasy relevant rookie wide receivers. So the chances of any of these guys being relevant at all is very low. So I don't have confidence in any of them. I think there are veterans that are already out there that what you've got that are safer, better bets than these guys that are just nothing but flyers that you may have to drop after week 2 or 3 anyway to fill in your injury or your bye week or whatever. I don't have confidence. I don't think in redraft leagues it's usually worth drafting any of these guys. And none of these guys really has the talent or the opportunity that really just grabs my attention. There is one guy after that does, but I'll get to him in a second.
Okay. So out of these 3 guys, I like Elijah Moore the most. Because first of all, the Jets don't have much of receivers like Corey Davis, and then that's basically it. Like Jamison Crowder's still there. I think he's going to be traded, based on the receivers that they added this offseason. So I think Elijah Moore has a chance to produce with the Jets, especially with a better quarterback. You have Zack Wilson, plus Joe Douglas drafted him, and Douglas has done well as the Jets GM so far. And you talked about how Howie Roseman hasn't had your trust recently. Howie Roseman hasn't been as good of a drafter without Joe Douglas. So,
right.
So I think that I have faith in the players that Joe Douglas likes. So out of those 3 players, I like Moore the most. Kadarius Toney is very talented. He's obviously, I think, the most talented out of the 3 in this group. The problem is with the Giants, you have Saquon Barkley catching a ton of passes. They signed Kenny Golladay. They still have Darius Slayton. They still have Sterling Shepard. They still have Evan Ingram. It's like, how many guys can Daniel Jones throw to? Plus, we don't know, like, is Daniel Jones going to take the next step? So there are a lot of questions. No, there are a lot of questions, with the Giants and Toney. I think if he were with another team, I'd like him a lot more. And then Rashad Bateman, I don't know if he can separate. I don't think he should have gone in the first round. Plus, Baltimore is such a run-heavy offense. I don't know if they can support Lamar Jackson throwing to Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and they also have Sammy Watkins, and now they have Rashad Bateman. It's just a lot of options for a team that doesn't throw that much.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Also, when was the last time there was a good University of Florida wide receiver? I mean, Jabbar Gaffney in 1999. I mean, what was like? There hasn't been that team has so many offensive players that come out. that just don't translate to the NFL. Kyle Pitts, we'll get to in a second. He's in a different league of himself, character or quality wise. But yeah, I don't have confidence in any of those guys. Also, I'm not a believer in Zack Wilson. I've watched some of this. I don't understand this guy being the number 2 pick of the draft. I think Justin Fields and Trey Lance, I would have taken both of those guys ahead of him. I didn't understand it at all. And he's from Utah. And like, listen, I know like he's a Mormon, like, you know, he doesn't drink caffeine. He's like a nice guy. Like, I get it. Okay. But like, you're not a good football player. I don't care what people say. And then also when you said like Elijah Moore might be good because like they've got nothing else at receiver. I don't know. They got nothing at receiver. Maybe they just go 3 and out every drive for the entire year and they never get a first down. Like I just have no confidence in that team whatsoever. This is just me bagging on the Jets again.
Well, that's definitely a possibility. Although Jamison Crowder did produce last year with Sam Darnold and Adam Gase coaching him, so there is some opportunity there, maybe. So yeah, and I agree with you. I think Justin Fields. Well, I don't think Zack Wilson should have been the second pick. I think Justin Fields would have been my choice for number 2. So you said you liked a sleeper receiver that we haven't discussed yet. I'm curious to hear who it is.
It's Amari Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. This guy's like a legit talent, not an amazing talent, but he's a legitimate talent who did it played major college football, right? At Clemson. He was a very good player. How long have the Packers been looking for a number 2 receiver? Like since Donald Driver retired 20 years ago. I mean, like what? Like this team has been long. Like, and I think Aaron Rodgers now. Side note, this is a big caveat. This is assuming Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Okay, that's a major caveat. But I have no reason to believe he's not going to be. I know he's saying he doesn't want to play for them. I have every bit of confidence that he's going to come back and he's going to be in the the angry Tom mold. Like, and we saw Rodgers do it last year, right? I mean, I was the beneficiary because I owned Rodgers in pretty much every fantasy league because everyone was saying he was washed up, and I had him like the 5th or 6th quarterback off the board. And I paid the dividend. He's rating NFL MVP. I have every bit of confidence that Amari Rodgers is going to be able to step in and be the number 2 quarterback, or number 2 receiver for maybe the best quarterback in the NFL who is in angry mode, who wants to just go out and stick it to them one more time. I love it. I have every bit of confidence. So I am going to be drafting Amari Rodgers in the last round of all of my redraft leagues because I think he's got a legitimate chance to make a splash sooner rather than later.
Well, we'll see. You yelled at me earlier for assuming. I'm going to yell at you now for assuming that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the quarterback of the Packers. I think he's on his way out. And Denver, they altered their draft plans because they thought that they could trade for Aaron Rodgers. They were going to draft Justin Fields at number 9. And as soon as they learned that they could trade for Rodgers, and they were the favorite, they're the favorite to trade for Rodgers, they decided to not draft the quarterback at all in the 2021 NFL draft because they think they can get Rodgers. So I already bet Denver 30-1 to win the Super Bowl. Jacob, he did even better than me. He bet them 50-1 to win the Super Bowl. It's not, it's not a guarantee to happen. Obviously, right. Rodgers could change his mind. He could go back to Green Bay. I think that's definitely a possibility. I think he's out. They drafted Jordan Love. That really pissed them off. Then they cut some of his favorite players. He was angry about that. He's pissed because they're not giving him the money he wants. I just think that there's so much tension there. I think they need a divorce, and they like what they see out of Jordan Love. Like, I don't think it's the right decision to go to him, but they do like him. So I think they're going to trade him eventually after June 1st, which is they can't trade him before June 1st. So it'll be after. But
if Aaron Rodgers is not in the Packers, strike everything I said about Amari Rodgers at this point.
Well, no, I mean, I don't have Amari Rodgers ranked highly only because I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be gone. But if you're right in assuming that Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, I think you have a great case. You make a great case for Amari Rodgers. I think he's definitely someone you have to look at. Otherwise, I can't really find a late round receiver that I like too much. Like, I was looking at like De'Ami Brown. He's someone who can go the distance anytime he touches the ball, and he could be the number 2 in the Redskins. And the Redskins have a better quarterback. Like Ryan Fitzpatrick's not a Pro Bowler or anything, but he's produced good fantasy receivers. Like look at Devontae Parker with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think De'Ami Brown could do well eventually, but not necessarily as a rookie. Dwayne Eskridge with the Seahawks. If DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett goes down, I think he has great potential there with Russell Wilson. Terrace Marshall with the Panthers. He has injury concerns. If he didn't have those injury concerns, he would have gone in the first round. So he's someone I'm looking at, but I don't like Sam Darnold. So a lot of these guys just like they have things wrong with them, and I don't know if I can draft any of them. So outside of Amari Rodgers, do you like anyone else?
Yeah, I agree with you. There doesn't seem to be anyone that would be really worth the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Paris telling you to check the sports books for Denver's future bets, but you cannot. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, but you can't bet because of your professions.
Okay. Question: what if the Broncos trade for Aaron Rodgers? What do you think it takes to get him? I mean, he's in his late 30s, right? I mean, he's not a spring chicken. Secondly, how does that impact the Broncos' Super Bowl chances, in your opinion?
So right now they're 30-1. Well, they were 30-1 a few days ago. They might be like 25-1 now. If they trade for Aaron Rodgers, I think they go to like 6-1. I think they're one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl for sure. I would still have the Chiefs as the favorite from the AFC, but Denver would be number 2, very close number 2. They have a great roster. Like the only thing they're missing is quarterback. Like they have everything else. They have a decent, not a great offense line, but decent one. They have a good running game now with Jamante Williams and Melvin Gordon. They have a talented receiving core. Cortland Sutton's coming back. And they have obviously a great defense with Vic Fangio coaching it. So he would make them an all-star team for sure. What would it cost? I think it would cost 3 first-round picks, and that's what the Packers are looking for. However, I think it could end up being like 2 first-rounders and maybe Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy kind of was a disappointment last year. He dropped a lot of passes. I think he's going to be better. But the Packers have been looking for a number 2 receiver for a long time, as you were saying. Yeah, they drafted Amari Rodgers later, but I think they could have some interest in Jeudy. So I think that it could be 2 first-rounders in Jeudy. And if the Broncos trade Jeudy, they still have Cortland Sutton, they still have KJ Hamler, they still have Tim Patrick, so a decent receiving core plus Noah Fant at tight end. So they still have guys for Aaron Rodgers to throw to. So that's what I think it would cost.
It's a steep price for a quarterback you're only going to have for a short period of time. But if it wins you a Super Bowl, right, it feels worth it.
It's definitely worth it. And, Rodgers is going to be there. I think he could play great for another 3 years. So they're going to have a 3-year window to win the Super Bowl with Rodgers. So I think it's worth it, even though it's a high price, like you said. So speaking of quarterbacks, so we had Trevor Lawrence, number 1 to the Jaguars. We had Zack Wilson, number 2 to the Jets. We had Trey Lance, number 3 to the Niners. Justin Fields to the Bears at 11, and then Mac Jones to the Patriots at 15. So we heard your opinions on Zack Wilson already. So what do you think about the other quarterbacks and like their fantasy potential this year?
Fantasy potential for rookie quarterbacks is always so grossly inconsistent. It's hard to really gauge it. You're looking for guys that they have a good system and what's their running ability. And I think the guy that I would, if you're going to bet, remember the year it was Kaepernick and Cam Newton, or was it Russell? There was 1 year there were several rushing quarterbacks that kind of exploded on the scene at the same time. I guess it was Kaepernick and Newton, and then a year later Russell Wilson.
And Andrew Luck, Robert Griffin, yeah,
RG3 was in that mix too, right. Of all the guys that I think that have the chance to kind of be that, it's Trey Lance. One, because of the cast around. People forget like the between COVID opt-outs and a tremendous number of injuries, the team playing for the San Francisco 49ers from pretty much week 5 on was a drastically different team than would have been in training camp, or the team that lost the Super Bowl to the Chiefs the year before. Like the team that lost in the Super Bowl and the team that was playing in week 5, week 6 of the NFL season in 2020, it weren't even the same guys. I felt like I was watching The Replacements, the movie. I think Keanu Reeves was out there. Like it was just a disaster. And so the fact that this team, like this is a good, talented, deep roster with a good coaching staff. They just lost, some good coaches, obviously, with the Jets, but they still have a good coaching staff. I trust Shanahan. They've got a lot of talent on this squad. if any, and Trey Lance has the ability. I mean, we've seen this with Michael Vick. We've seen this with Donovan McNabb. We've seen this with Lamar Jackson. We've seen this with Tavarius Jackson back in the day, Teddy Bridgewater, even a little bit, not as much as those other guys, but the rookie quarterbacks who are able to rush, they eventually phase out of that. They eventually stop being the major rushing. I mean, maybe Lamar Jackson, who knows what's going to happen with him, right? And Vic can never figure out how to actually beat a blitz. But we saw with even Steve McNair, these guys that out of the chute, they're running for 600-700 yards and multiple touchdowns. Trey Lance has the system and the ability to be that immediately. And so I think it's 50-50. He may end up being just a very average guy. But I am not so confident. I'm not incredibly confident in him to be immediate. But if all the guys I'm betting on, because of the system and his skill set, I'm betting on him. I think all the other guys have the chance to be pretty mediocre, except Mac Jones, and I don't know if he's going to play it all this year.
Okay. Speaking of playing this year, so you think Trey Lance is going to start right away? Because they've been saying Jimmy Garoppolo is still their quarterback. I have a feeling that Jimmy Garoppolo is Denver's backup option. I don't know. I know they have Teddy Bridgewater. I just don't know if they're sold on him. There's a late round pick, so if they're not convinced that the Bridgewater is their guy, maybe they trade for Garoppolo. I don't know, but they really want Aaron Rodgers. But I think the Niners are going to want to trade Garoppolo to a team that has an injury. It reminds me of Sam Bradford a few years ago when he went down when Teddy Bridgewater got hurt, and then Sam Bradford got traded to the Vikings. It's kind of like that, and I think that Trey Lance is going to start right away, even though the Niners have said otherwise. I just think he's a little raw right now, and that's the problem with him. He's going to run around a lot and get you good fantasy points. I just don't know if it's going to translate to wins right away, even though the Niners have a great roster, just because he's a little raw, and that's my only concern. But I think he has great long-term potential. If you're in a dynasty league, I definitely like Trey Lance a lot more than redraft, obviously. Yeah, but he is great upside. And we talked about Zack Wilson. Trevor Lawrence, where would you draft him in redraft years, in redraft leagues this year?
I don't know that I would draft him. To me, I got him. I got Trevor Lawrence at number 14, my 14th overall. And I mean, for years, I feel like I've been saying this. The world has maybe finally caught up with it, but I just don't draft quarterbacks before the double-digit rounds. Unless it's just an extreme value or very odd situation. And so I can see myself drafting a Trevor Lawrence. If he's got we just play the matchups, right? But does he have an easy, the schedule comes out tomorrow, right? Are the first few defenses he playing defenses I think are going to be bad? Then yeah, maybe he's a guy you draft. But to me, I'm not going out of my way to get any of these guys, really, including Trey Lance. If there was one I was going to go out of my way to go out of the get is Lance is the guy that I think once he supplants Garoppolo potentially could be the guy. Lawrence seems like he's got all the talent, all the mechanics. He's the guy. But it feels like I've read a couple guys that I really trust that say he's not as good as some would like you to believe. Some are saying he's as good as Andrew Luck. That's the feel. But I've heard a couple guys that I tend to like that say I'm not so convinced that he's actually as good as some would like you to believe.
I disagree with that. I think he's the best quarterback prospect I've seen since covering the site. That includes Andrew Luck.
Better than Luck.
Yeah, better than Luck. That does not. His arm's better than Andrew Luck's. It does not include Peyton Manning. That was one year after I started. But I have him 10th in my quarterback rankings. So you have him 14th. So we're sort of close, but I have him 10th. Justin Herbert had a great rookie year last year. And Joe Burrow did well as a fantasy quarterback. So there's definitely potential there. And like I said, the Jaguars have a ton of receiving talent with Chark and Laviska Shenault and Marvin Jones. And plus he has two good running backs at his disposal. So I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a ton of success in his rookie year. And don't forget, he plays the Texans twice and the Titans twice. Those two teams don't play any defense. So he has at least 4 good matchups, plus a last place schedule. So, I think that Trevor Lawrence is someone I would be interested in like round 10, 11, like kind of where we start to draft quarterbacks, like you and I. So like he's definitely like someone I wouldn't mind having as my starting quarterback if I fell into him, So we had a question here, Walt. Does Justin Fields start week 1? Odds are plus 255 to plus 300. I think he does. Like, how can you go into the year with Andy Dalton as your quarterback? That just doesn't the Bears just might lose their locker room if they do that. Like, because Andy Dalton doesn't give you any chance to win, whereas Justin Fields does. I like Fields a lot. What's your opinion on Justin Fields?
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's not forget the greatest quarterback of all time is still on that roster. Let's not forget that.
That's true. It's true. Nicky Franchise.
Franchise is gonna I mean, I love Justin Fields. I absolutely love him. I have zero confidence in that Chicago team right now. That coaching staff was built to be this. Everyone was saying how great they were going to be. They were going to be Kansas City Chiefs 2.0. He was going to be the next best thing, better than Sean McVay, better than Shanahan, blah, 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 blah. He's so good. He's terrible. He is mediocre. People sometimes they hype some of these guys up. And that Chicago team, they stink. That offensive line got old really fast. I don't know what's going on. I don't know who they're going to put out there. And Justin Fields will be running for his life. I mean, maybe that'd be a good thing for fantasy. But it's not like he's got like a ton of talent. So I like Justin Fields more than Trey Lance as a prospect. If I was drafting number 2, I would have taken Justin Fields over Trey Lance. I'm just saying for this year, rookie year, I like Trey Lance's chances in the second half of the year. I think he's going to supplant Garoppolo at some point and will be the guy. And I like his chances better than Fields, mostly because of the system around him. My confidence in Shanahan is very high. My confidence in Nagy and that team right now is low, and I think rightfully so, right?
Yeah, but in his defense, like he's had the MVP Mitchell Trubisky as his quarterback for a while, and True. Like you can't really win with him. And so I don't like Nagy either, but I'm willing to give him a pass for now. Like give him like one more chance to win with a good a talented quarterback like Justin Fields. They drafted a tackle in the second round, so their offensive line will be a little bit better. And then they have Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney played well last year. Anthony Miller is someone I kind of like. So Tariq Cohen's coming back from injury. He's going to be obviously a nice receiver out of the backfield. David Montgomery got better last year as a pass catcher. So like there's some weapons for Fields, but I think you're right. Like he's going to be running for his life a lot. And he's going to pick up a ton of rushing yards. So he's someone I like for fantasy, in the late rounds. Like if you're looking for a sleeper quarterback and all the ones you like have gone already. He's someone I don't mind. Like if he's my starting quarterback heading into the year, I don't feel too bad about that. I think he's going to be a good fantasy player. Go ahead.
I think there are going to be veterans drafted late that I think I might like more. I think I might even take a chance. I think I like Burrow if he's healthy a little more. I think I like Baker Mayfield a little more. I don't know where Stafford's going to get drafted, but I'm going to like Stafford. I think Tannehill is going to be drafted in that same range. I think I'm going to like Tannehill more. I think just generally they're going to be guys being drafted probably in the same range, but I'm going to trust a little bit more. I think there are going to be weeks where Ryan Fitzpatrick is trustworthy. Again, he's not a top 20 quarterback overall, but I think there are going to be weeks in fantasy where I'm going to trust a Fitzpatrick, particularly with some of the secondaries he's going to get to play in the NFC East.
Yeah, I think at that point you're playing matchups. Like you don't need to roster Fitzpatrick on for all 17 weeks or 18 weeks. Justin Fields is my number 16 quarterback. But some of the guys you mentioned are above him. Like Joe Burrow, I have 15. I have Stafford 12. So I agree with you there. Tannehill slightly below Fields because I worry about Tannehill losing his offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. I think the Titans are going to take a step back this year because Smith is gone. But maybe I'm wrong about that. So let's get to the tight ends. Kyle Pitts is obviously the one we're talking about. But the Steelers drafted Pat Freiermuth in the second round. So I think he's worth noting as well. So how are you going to approach these two tight ends?
Well, there's not a chance I'm drafting I don't draft tight ends to the double digits anymore either. I used to be I was ahead of the curve. I feel like in the early 2000s, but I would draft Tony Gonzalez every year in the third round and had a major advantage. Yeah, I'm actually gotten to the point where tight end is such a dumpster fire, and there's such a gap between there's a handful of guys at the top, and then there's this massive chasm. Everyone else, as you would say, is an abomination, and so it's so inconsistent from week to week. I mean, it's such a mess, and so that and the price for tight end has just increasingly increased over the last decade in fantasy football. I play in auction leagues, so the cost per point to acquire a tight end has gone up significantly. There's been some inflation, and there's and in redrafts, it's normal. You gotta spend a second or third round pick to get one of the premier guys. In some cases, some years it's been a low first round pick, right, to get one of the premier guys, and even to get the mediocre guys, you got to spend a fourth or fifth round pick. And I'm just not in the business of drafting a tight end position. It's so inconsistent. It only starts one player. I'd much rather draft running backs and receivers at that part of the draft. So I generally am not drafting any of these guys. To me, so not. When was the last time the Pittsburgh Steelers had a tight end you could trust week in and week out? Heath Schuler.
Heath Miller.
Heath Schuler was a quarterback in the 90s. Heath Miller. I mean, I feel like there's moments where Vance McDonald had a cup of coffee in Pittsburgh. He was okay. He was hanging out with the Yinzers. Shout out to all the Yinzers in Pittsburgh. I just I don't trust that team producing a quality tight end. The question is, where do we draft Kyle Pitts? And that's really the big question, right? And it's like it doesn't seem like, I mean, where is this guy going to go in drafts? And I would imagine he's probably, let me see where I've got him here. Again, I should probably have this already loaded up. Where did I rank him? My final rank of Pitts was, I got him 70th overall. Which, what is that? That's still 7th round pick, right? I mean, so I don't think I would drop him in the 7th round. Actually, I got to change that. He's not that high. I don't think I would use a 7th round pick. To me, maybe I'm using maybe in the 8th round. I'm looking at him because this guy's a freak talent, right? I mean, have we seen any tight end prospect come out like this ever? I mean,
yeah, it's been a while at least. Vernon Davis kind of reminds me of that, but he's a different sort of tight end where he's almost a receiver, and some teams viewed him as a receiver coming out. Right. He's like a better version of Darren Waller. We've seen what Waller has done for the Raiders. And Pitts is going to have a ton of opportunities in Atlanta. Matt Ryan loves targeting tight ends. Look at what Austin Hooper and Hayden Hurst have done with Matt Ryan. And then Hooper, when he left Atlanta, he did nothing in Cleveland. Hayden Hurst, but before he came to Atlanta, he did nothing in Baltimore. So Matt Ryan makes good use of his tight ends, and now he's going to have potentially a top 3 talent wise at the position. Pitts has amazing upside. So I don't think you're wrong in ranking him 70th overall. I haven't done my tight end rankings yet, so I don't know where he's going to go exactly. Pre-draft, I had him 10th because I didn't know where he would go. Maybe he would go to an offensively deficient team. But Atlanta is going to have a ton of scoring opportunities for him, so he's going to move up. I think he might be a top 5 rookie, top 5 tight end for me, despite being a rookie. So
I have him as my number 5 tight end overall.
Okay, yeah. So I think he's going to be up there. I'm just looking at my tight ends list. So Kelsey, Kittle, and Waller are going to be ahead of him. After that, I don't know. I think so. He might be number 4. Who do you have ahead of him?
I got Hockenson at 4. Okay. I really like Hockenson, but I think you can make a case for Pitts ahead of him as well. Okay.
If Stafford was still quarterbacking the Lions, I'd like Hockenson more. With Jared Goff, I like Hockenson less. But yeah, so I think I'm going to have Pitts number 4 when my tight end rankings come out.
To me, it's Kelsey, Kittle, Waller is my 3. I got Hockenson, Pitts at 5. And then I've got Dallas Goedert at 6, assuming Zach Ertz is not on the roster, which looks dicey at this point, right? But to me, Goddard is still a top 10 tight end, even with Ertz on the roster. I trust him and his talent. And then you got a whole bunch of guys that are kind of who knows? It's Mark Andrews, you got Noah Fant, you got Logan Thomas, Robert Tonyan, Mike Gesicki, Hunter Henry in New England. Maybe I would take Pitts over all of those guys. Rob Gronkowski, with coming off his 29th back surgery. I would take Pitts over all of those guys easily.
Well, I have a question for you then in relation to that. So if the Broncos trade for Aaron Rodgers, where would you put Noah Fant?
Yeah, I think that bumps Noah Fant just below that top rank. So maybe I go, maybe if it's Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, and then if it's Hockenson, Pitts, and then maybe Noah Fant's right behind that crew.
Yeah, I'd have a tough time putting him outside of the top 5 if Aaron Rodgers is there. I mean, look what he did with Robert Tonyan. Noah Fant is so much more talented. So I think he's going to be great with Rodgers. But if it's Teddy Bridgewater or Drew Lock, don't have much faith in him there. I mean, he's still going to be like a borderline top 10 guy, but it's just not ideal.
To me, it's interesting as I'm looking at some of the other. I've looked at Pro Football Focus. I look at other Football Pros and these other sites. I feel like generally, if someone said to me, "Hey, if you have a top 5 tight end that you think has a upside to be even better than that guy's like a 6th round pick in most people's measurements." But I just devalue the position where I'm not likely to draft him before round 8, and that's not necessarily because I'm ranking him lower. I'm low on him. I'm just low on the entire position as a whole.
Yeah, so am I. And you could play matchups with the position. There are certain teams that absolutely can't stop tight ends. Like, remember Arizona 2 years ago? Like every single tight end against them would explode. There are teams like that every single year. Teams with terrible linebacking cores. The Eagles were like that last year. Just target the teams that have terrible linebackers. The Eagles haven't really addressed that either. So I think that's one team you could target tight ends against, and there are going to be a few others. So if you don't get the top guys because they go too early, and they probably will, you can probably get one of these guys who's and chances are one of them's going to go way later than they should. Maybe someone like Logan Thomas gets like lost in the shuffle with all these new tight ends. We saw what he did last year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick did well with Mike Gesicki. So like Logan Thomas got a big year. So it's like someone like that. Maybe Cole Kmet with the Bears with Justin Fields there. I think it's Tyler Higbee, who I've always kind of been down on compared to the rest of the market. But I think he's a guy who probably you could draft in round 12 or 13, and with Stafford has a legitimate chance to be would it surprise you if Higbee has 8 touchdowns this year? Like, it wouldn't surprise me, right? Like, no. He's scoring a touchdown every other game. I mean, I think I don't think that's a crazy possibility. It's also possible he gets like 2 touchdowns, right? I mean, that's all. So, but I think that's the case for any of these tight ends, like from pretty much like 6 or 7, depending on who you put there, to like 25. Like, you can put them in what's one of those? It's like a snow globe. You can throw them on a snow globe, shake them up, and whatever order they come in, that's as good as a guess as anything. I mean, there's so many variables. It's hard to really put a lot of stock in the position. To get consistency, you have to spend the early draft capital, and I'm not willing to do that, because when you do, your lack of depth at running back and receiver is always glaring. And so I refuse to do it. And so I just punt. I mean, what was the one year we had a 16-round draft? I think I drafted a tight end, my first tight end in round 15. It was OJ Howard. I drafted around 15. And I think he finished like the 4th best tight end of the year that year, like something, whatever. Like, he was actually good that year. Yeah, we always have a race to see, or quote unquote race to see who drafts the tight end last in our league. It's the same thing with quarterbacks too. Another guy, Jack Doyle, because Wentz loves tight ends. Jack Doyle was hurt last year, so if he stays healthy, he could have a good year. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. We had a question from Parrot as well. How do you feel about the Bears letting go of Kyle Fuller because of Allen Robinson's resigning? Yeah, I mean, it's not ideal. Like, they have a hole at cornerback too, so that's another thing that can help Justin Fields, is that the Chicago defense while still it's going to be good, it's not going to be dominant. So it's not like he's going to be in the lead a lot. It's going to be nursing a ton of leads. Right. So he might be throwing from behind. So yeah, I don't like what the Bears GM usually does. But I did like the trade up for Justin Fields. I thought that was great. So yeah, let's talk about rookie kickers. Just kidding. So that is it for our football discussion. So if you're not a Game of Thrones fan, you can tune out. Please hit subscribe, the like button, comment below, share this video. That would mean a lot to us. So yeah, we're not going to be discussing football any longer. We're going to be going into Game of Thrones because HBO released a promo for the prequel. So I know that we wanted to discuss this, and you said you were going to rant about HBO, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the Game of Thrones prequel. I think it's called the Age of the what is it called? The Age of the Dragon or something. What is it called?
I don't know. Okay, I was gonna rant. I was gonna have. I was trying to muster up all the emotion to have this like incredibly passionate, angry rant, but I can't do it because I don't even care. Like I don't have enough emotion and care to be angry. I'll give you all the reasons. Okay, number one. Okay, and sometimes people make fun of me for this. I don't care because of my religious convictions. I don't like watching television shows that have a lot of nudity or cursing. So I use a software that edits that out. People want to make fun of me. I don't care. That's because of my Christian faith. Make fun of me if you want. I don't care. Anyway, it's still America, right? We can have religious liberty. Anyway, and so HBO recently disabled their ability to use the software that I typically use. The company, it's called VidAngel. Is because HBO doesn't want people to watch their content without the nudity and the cursing. And I'm like, well, what if I don't want to watch that? Like, and so I'm angry, but number one, I'm angry about that because like, I feel like you should give your customers, give me the opportunity to watch it on my terms. So that's number one. That's frustrating. Number two, I'm a PhD student. I'm not gonna have time for the next 4 years. Okay, I don't have a social life, so I'm not gonna have time to watch television. Number three, I've gotten rid of streaming because I'm so angry at the force-fed politics that come across in media. I'm so angry with it. Listen, when I'm being entertained, I don't want to hear about I don't want to be force-fed politics. I watch TV to veg, and HBO has been flagrant in the way they've done this recently, and it's frustrating. I've canceled. I don't have HBO. I don't have Netflix. I don't have Hulu. The only thing we kept was Disney Plus because because I'm married and my wife likes it. Anyway, so that's it because I'm just so angry at the toxic political culture in America. Number four, HBO sucks. They ruined the first one. They ruin everything. I don't trust these guys at all. I feel like there's several other shows that have done this too with other networks and studios where you have this amazing book or this amazing concept. And it's great. And then you just feel the need to just pervert it with, I don't mean pervert it sexually. I mean pervert it with your CGI and your, look at me, I'm so explosive and $15 million on an episode. And just give me good writing and good dialogue and good acting. I don't need you to try to impress me. Oh, look what I can do, CGI. Ooh, I got a cool dragon. Now, anyway, I'm done with HBO. I'm done with all their TV shows, probably forever. I'm not watching this show. I'm so angry at what they did with previous work. I mean, George Martin, one of the most brilliant writers of our era, and they absolutely ruined the work. I want no part of this. That's rant over.
So my friend Ben knows I loved Game of Thrones beforehand, and he sent me a text. He's like, "Well, look at this. It's the promo." So that's the first time I heard of it, and I googled it. It's called House of the Dragon. So I saw it, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to watch this. I really don't. And I maybe I'll watch the first episode to see how it is. I do like the fact that George R. R. Martin will take part in this, so that gives me some hope that it's better than what we saw. But so I have multiple issues as well with this. So one, Game of Thrones ended so badly. The first 4 seasons were amazing. 5 and 6 weren't as amazing, but they're still great. There's still great acting. The characters were still interesting. There were some side stories that didn't make sense. Like Jaime Lannister going to Dorne. That was so bad. And also not having Lady Stoneheart. They started making a lot of mistakes, but you could still forgive it because it was still a great show. But once it got to season 7 and 8, the characters didn't make any sense anymore. They were Tyrion Lannister suddenly became the dumbest Lannister sibling for some reason. They had that dumb idea to go north of the wall to capture a zombie or a white to show Cersei so they could get the Lannister army for some reason, as if the Lannister army could help them fight the Night King. That didn't make any sense at all. All this is so stupid. Season 8 was terrible. We still don't know why Daenerys attacked the King's Landing. I still don't know. Like, people are like, oh, you saw that coming. I didn't see that coming. I don't know why. I don't know why like she would do that. It didn't make any sense for a character, kind of like Tyrion being the dumbest Lannister. So like it just got so bad that I don't even want to watch it anymore. Like, if I see it on TV, like I won't want to watch it. Whereas like other shows, like Lost, for example, that I got you to watch. Like, if I see if I see an episode of Lost, I'll want to watch it. Like, because I love the show so much. Like Breaking Bad, my wife is going through Breaking Bad right now. Like, I'll watch an episode or two with her because the show is amazing. I can't watch Game of Thrones anymore. And like I was thinking about this, like, when would I watch it again? Like, I think if I have kids in the future and they become teenagers, maybe then, like, that might be the first time I rewatch Game of Thrones. I just can't do it right now. So that's like the primary reason why I don't have any interest in the show, is because I just feel like HBO will screw things up eventually. Like, George R. R. Martin may leave after a few seasons, and then they'll come up with dumb things again. So that's one thing. Two, like, it's a small thing, but I don't like prequels. Like we know what happened. Like, I'd rather see what happens in the future. Like, why don't we get like Arya? Like, let's see what happens to Arya once she sets sail. Like what's west of Westeros? Like, I want to find out, right? Like, I think that's way more interesting than what's going on in this prequel, because we know what happens. We know the history of Westeros already. And three, I feel like, this is called the House of the Dragon. I don't know about you, but I thought the dragons were the least interesting aspect of Game of Thrones. Like the most interesting, like, I thought the best thing about Game of Thrones was, well, outside of the acting, I thought the characters, and then the political ramifications, and then the Night King, like the White Walkers, the Night King. I thought those three in order were the best things about Game of Thrones. I didn't care about the dragons. Like, we've seen dragon stuff before. Like, this is not new material or anything. Right. This is not something that George R. R. Martin came up with. It was cool that Daenerys got to ride them and everything, and the CGI was awesome to see. But it just wasn't interesting to me. And so I just don't care about the dragons. And we're going to be force-fed dragons. Like, obviously this is going to be about the Targaryens, and they're conquering a Westeros. But A, we know what happens, and B, yeah, okay, we see more dragons. Like, okay, I don't care. I really don't care.
Now, I understand your issue with prequel. That makes sense. And I think I generally agree. But there is one thing in my life where I know the end of the story, and I've still watched it over and over and over again. That's Super Bowl 52.
Nice. Well, that's not a prequel. You're rewatching it. It would be like it would be like rewatching the 2015 and 2016 seasons. It's like, oh, how'd the Eagles get here? And then like rewatching the 2017 NFL draft.
Yeah, that would be pretty boring.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You know how they got there. So I don't know. Like I said, I hate prequels.
It's the greatest movie of all time, by the way. It's Super Bowl 52.
Yeah, well, you watched it way more than I have, but we experienced it firsthand together in that Minnesota bar. It was fun.
Oh, what a great moment. I often, my wife and I have eaten at that restaurant multiple times, sports bar here in the Twin Cities, and I say to my wife, right, that moment right there, that spot right there, that's where one of the greatest moments of my life took place right there.
Yeah, that was amazing. So what do you think about my other points, like dragons being like played out? And
yeah, I generally, you even said the CGI was awesome. I don't know, maybe everyone else loves it. I don't like movies or TV shows with a lot of CGI. Like, I want great dialogue. To me, like, just give me, and it's the reason, like, the books that I'm not even a big fiction reader. I don't read a lot of fiction, but like the fiction novels that I have read in my life are books that have just great dialogue between great characters that have depth, that gets unveiled throughout the course of the story. That's like that's my favorite thing. And the TV shows that do that well. And what studios and TV, like HBO and Showtime and others, they've simply taken these great stories and novels and books, and it's all about CGI now in these movies and these miniseries. And I just watched the miniseries I really liked on Apple TV called Defending Jacob. Have you seen this one?
I heard of it. I haven't seen it.
It was a book. I had not read the book, but there's not a lot to it. It's very simple. And I saw a couple people online be like, "Well, it was boring." Like, Nothing like all they did was just like talk a lot, and I'm like, yeah, that's awesome. So I loved it, but I recognize not everyone's gonna love it. I recognize that's not the thing that everyone loves. I don't want stuff blowing up and bloody this and blah blah blah, and so I want really good dialogue between characters, and any TV show doesn't give me that. I'm just bored with it, and I think the entire trajectory of television right now is so informed and influenced by CGI that I'm just, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's going to be, look at the dragon, look how great it is. I'm just going to be like, okay, like, I don't care.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more about the CGI. Like, I was just saying that, like, it at least like looks good, like, you know. Yeah. So in the moment when you're watching, like, oh wow, that's cool. But then, you know, I'd rather have the dialogue. You know, the CGI, especially with the zombie dragon, you know, like blowing up the wall, like that was like an iconic moment. Just seeing that, like it looked awesome. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I'd rather have the dialogue, and I think that the best parts of Game of Thrones were when Varys and Littlefinger were talking to each other, just scheming and like trying to outsmart each other. Like that was my favorite parts of Game of Thrones, because, you know, that's something we didn't see at all in the book. And there was like stuff that the show added to kind of supplement what we read in the book. And I just thought it was awesome. And we didn't get any of that in the final couple of seasons. And instead we got Littlefinger, the smartest man in Westeros, getting outsmarted by two teenage girls. And then we have Varys, like maybe the most informed person in Westeros. He died for what? Trying to smuggle out letters? That made no sense to me at all. So it was so frustrating at the end. Like, it just seemed like they didn't know where they were going. They knew how they were going to, they knew like where they wanted to end it, but they didn't know how to get there, and they didn't know how to kill off Varys and Littlefinger, who were the two most interesting characters. So yeah, it was just so disappointing. Are there any TV shows right now you're watching that you're liking? Yeah, we're watching Cruel Summer on Hulu. Yeah, it's kind of like it. So what happens is, like, it takes place over the course of 3 summers, and this girl is kidnapped by this guy, and she eventually escapes. And apparently another girl that she knows saw that she was kidnapped, and she doesn't go to the police about it. She just lets her stay kidnapped. And like, you don't know who to believe, like, because like they're both calling each other liars. Like, I think it's a really cool show. Like, what else? Like, it's just kind of like older stuff. Like we were rewatching, like, not rewatching, but like Future Man it came out like a few years ago. It's like a cross between like Chuck and I don't know what else, but it was yeah, it's like a funny show. Where, you know, it's about a guy who beats a video game that no one beat before, and as soon as he beats it, like 2 people from the future in that game come back to the past, and they call him the savior, and he's like, it's just a guy who beat this video game. So like, it was a good show. So yeah, so that's. What about you?
I mean, again, I'm a PhD student. I don't have a social life. Right. I won't have a social life for a couple of years, but my wife and I did watch all of Parks and Rec. And I'm not even a big fan of like slapstick or like dry humor. Like, I don't even like comedy. I've watched The Office a few episodes. I never laughed. I watched a little bit of Arrested Development in the past. I've watched shows like that, even sitcoms, Modern Family. I don't think they're funny. I'm annoyed by them. And so my wife's like, you got to watch Parks and Rec. And I'm like, I'm not going to like this show. Like, I've watched this type of television show so many times in my life. It's going to be lame. I'm not going to like it. I don't want to waste my time watching this show. Fine, but you're married, and I got to do what I'm told. Anyway, so we sit down, we watch the first episode. I laughed out loud 3 times because the writing is so good. I'm like, well, I'll watch another episode. I went through all 6 seasons. I laugh out loud every single episode because the writing is so good. The acting is B+. There's not a lot to the story. It's sort of, but the writing and the wit. It's a combination of like lowbrow, silly slapstick with like really good political puns mixed in. It's A+, man. So hanging out with my libertarian friend Ron Swanson is excellent.
Yeah, like similarly to that, like we watched through the Goldbergs, and now we're watching Fresh Off the Boat. So those are 2 like kind of similar shows that we like a lot. You know, basically like a half-hour comedy without a laugh track. So basically, any comedy without a laugh track, I think, is good. We finished Vikings, which was it's on Amazon Prime. It's on the History Channel too. That kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones. There's like a lot of backstabbing, like good characters. The fight scenes are great. I like that show a lot. I don't know if you've ever watched it, but it was pretty good. I wasn't a fan of the finale, but the final season was still pretty good. It wasn't Game of Thrones bad, so at least they had that going for them.
At some point, I'll probably go back and rewatch Lost. You got me on that show a few years ago. I think I watched it like it was December of 2019. I think I watched I had Christmas break and I just went crazy for like 4 days and watched all of it, whatever, something stupid like that. So I think at some point I'll go back and rewatch that.
Okay, yeah, Lost was I've rewatched that before. It's amazing. Battlestar Galactica is another show. Like great characters, great storytelling. I definitely recommend that. Plus, I mentioned Breaking Bad. Obviously, I'm sure most people watch that. Like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul is really good too. I don't know when they're coming back for season 6, but if you like Breaking Bad, like Better Call Saul is almost as good, like maybe even better sometimes. Like it's so good. So I like that as well. Yeah, I mean, The Wire, so there are a lot of other good shows. So, so I have to ask you this before we sign off. Like, are you even going to watch the premiere of The House of the Dragon?
No, I have no intention.
You know what? I've been saying no, but I feel like I want to, just so I can write about it in Jerks of the Week. And I was going to say that, like, if both you and I watch it, we can discuss it and make fun of it. But it sounds like you're too busy and you don't want to do that.
No, I have no intention. And but you have really good reasons to, Jerks of the Week needs fodder.
Yeah, I mean, it always needs fodder. I'm always looking for things to write about, and it's not like I can go very many places right now. So, it's definitely I want to I want to make fun of it. So I'm definitely going to watch at least one episode to see how it is, and then I'm not expecting anything good. Even if George R. Martin's going to help them out. Like I said, I don't care about prequels. I don't care about dragons. I don't care about Targaryens. I don't care what happened in the past. I want to see what's west of Westeros and not what happened 800 years ago or 1,000 years ago. I don't care.
Maybe there'll be a book one day.
Yeah, maybe there will be a 6th book of Game of Thrones one day called The Winds of Winter, and that was supposed to be released like several years ago, and it hasn't been released yet for some reason. I don't know. And he said it was going to be ready last July. Like he gave a date for the first time. He said last July, and still hasn't been released yet. I have a feeling he's stuck. I think he just doesn't know where to go, and I think that's why he's delaying it so much. Like it shouldn't take you a whole decade to write a book, right?
I've never written a fiction novel, so I don't know, but yeah, I would think not.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so either. So, all right, that's about it. So I will be writing about the first episode whenever it comes out, and I'm sure I'll be complaining about it. So, and I'll text you about it too, so to let you know how bad it is. It was great talking to you again for the first time in a while. Hopefully, could come on several times this summer to talk more fantasy. That'd be awesome. Jacob will be back next week, I think. He just had a work conflict this week. The schedule comes out tomorrow. We'll be discussing week 1 lines next week, and then we'll get into more fantasy. My fantasy rankings will be up on the site soon. I think by the end of the week. Charlie has a ton of content. Why the Slide is always great. Why Undrafted. Those are my favorite things. That's it. Check us out at walterfootball.com. And do you have anything to plug?
Nope. You can find me on Twitter at FantasyJabber. Let's talk some smack on the tweets.
Nice. Sounds good. All right, man. I'll talk to you next week.
You the man, Walt.
All right, bye.